Hey friends, so today I want to talk about 3 things that I think are super important to becoming that person that you are truly meant to be, becoming your true self. And those 3 things are vulnerability, courage, and authenticity. So I've done posts about each of these in the past, but today I want to talk about how they really all come together and how each of them need each other. So let's talk first a little bit about vulnerability. I love the way Brene Brown puts it, daring to show up and allowing yourself to be seen. There's this emotional risk. There's a fear involved in that. When we think of being vulnerable, sometimes we think of weakness or automatically fear shows up. It's not weak. It's very strong and courageous to be vulnerable. And sure, there's fear involved because it's uncertain. We're going into the unknown. We're afraid that we'll be rejected for what we're thinking or feeling, or we're afraid that we'll be judged for what we're sharing. But being vulnerable allows people to see us, to connect to us, to relate to us. So we need to be vulnerable. In addition to that, if we're not vulnerable, if we're putting out something else, then we're not putting out our true selves. We need to be able to show our true selves and be comfortable doing that. The next one is courage. Well, you need courage in order to be vulnerable, but vulnerability allows you to have courage, right? So courage is that idea of doing things even when you're afraid. It's not the lack of fear, it's doing things even when you're afraid. So you need courage, and I'm gonna be vulnerable even though I'm afraid of what someone might say, or I'm afraid of how I might be treated, but I know I need to be vulnerable in this situation. And then being vulnerable is allowing people, or having courage is allowing people to see my imperfections. So again, those 2 really go hand in hand. Now you need both of these for authenticity, for you to be your true self. So being authentic is letting go of what everybody thinks you should be, the things that you should say, how you should fit into this world. Being authentic is showing up the way you were meant to show up, the way you were meant to be, the things that you were meant to do, not what the rest of the world says. So it takes, first of all, vulnerability to look at who that is and being okay with who you are and how you show up in the world. And then having the courage to do that. And now you can truly be that authentic person. And as you kind of go through that cycle over and over and over again, it allows you to be more vulnerable, to have more courage, and be more authentic every time. Now, I'm not saying this is easy. Every situation is different. In some cases, maybe you're more vulnerable. In other cases, not so much. Same with courage. Maybe for me, like I can get up and build up my courage to go and speak in front of people. But building up courage to speak to someone face to face, I struggle with that. So there's certain situations, right? Being authentic. Maybe for you, there's certain groups that you feel more comfortable being authentic in, and others where you don't. And so that's that time of how can I gain the courage and build up the courage to be more vulnerable with these other groups so that I can be my authentic self. So this is the cycle, the vulnerability, the courage, and authenticity, so you can be your true self.